This morning, Sayadaw gives some update about our plans and our work in India for the 3-month Rains Retreat in 2024. So I'll be downloading that figure out how to download that off of Facebook, and then I'll post it onto the YouTube channel so people will be able to get a more clear idea. Some of the people who are thinking about joining, this will give them a more clear idea about the situation and what to expect. Welcome, Pure Land. Please consider to change your username to your first name or like a personal nickname. Hello, Monifa.
Morning, Bhante.
Not only is it the morning, but it is also the present moment. Okay, thank you, Charles. Okay, welcome in, Nico. Please keep your mic muted unless you want to speak. And hello to Memory and Naomi, Mildred, and Ginger on the YouTube. it's important that we know how to ignore a lot. Ajahn Brahm, I heard him teach this one time, that whatever comes up in meditation, whatever you get distracted by or involved with, you can repeat the mantra, that's not my business, none of my business. And it's really powerful, it's really helpful when we can say, that's not my business, to all the different thoughts and random things that come about. Someone approaches us or says they want to, you know, they want to get involved with us, or, they have something to sell. Maybe they're a Nigerian prince that has a fortune they want to sell, or so and so. And we just say, oh, that's not my business, and not being stuck in any surface level appearance about anything, not being binded by appearances, weighed down by appearances. Because really, I mean, in the greatest scheme of things, how do we know what's really going on? Even if we look outside our window and we can see nature, we can see mountains, we can see the sky, or we see all these different people in the streets. Maybe they give us a smile, or they give us a negative look, something like that. But how can we experience just something and then say, oh, we know what's really going on? There's always a deeper aspect to everything, more and more subtle. And then when you get to the deepest aspect, when you get to the most subtle aspect, guess what you find? Anybody know? You find space. You find emptiness. You find nothing in particular. And then at that time, rather than us reacting to this situation or this experience, or this good or bad phenomena, this happening, we can make the choice to take care of it, to try and help, to try and heal, to try and uh, be the best caretaker that we can possibly be in that situation. Not about it being this way or that way, but just the way. Something like our direct experience already, without having to do anything special to develop it or to get it to, some kind of special point. It's just like waking up. You don't you don't do anything to wake up. You just wake up, right? Isn't it like that? What do you have to do to wake up? No, you just wake up. Welcome, Brenda. Please mute your mic unless you want to speak. Okay, Rishab, I'm ready to receive your spiritual question. But please use your microphone if you can. Yeah, just about. Get real close to your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. What are your views on self-esteem? What if someone insults you or takes away from you? what is yours? What must we do with that situation? Thank you.
Well, people shouldn't really be putting us down or taking away from us. Um, Sometimes there's a helpful criticism, and maybe someone is speaking from a good intention. But usually, like from what I've experienced with my teachers, it's not so much what they say, but how they are, and being close with them and being around them, and that somehow in a very subtle way gives me guidance on how to move forward. But that's more like in a student-teacher relationship with just random people, or people you come across. No, friends don't put us down. Friends don't beat us up. They also don't like feed into our suffering. So if we're depressed and anxious and we're just not taking care of our lives, our friend doesn't come in and say, "Oh, that looks great. See you later. Let me know when you feel good." But they take a look. They ask if you're okay. They check on you, and they invite you to practice. They invite you to walk, to get involved with your life. We have to be very careful about how we allow other people to be in relationship with us, because we don't want to be confused about the most important relationship in our life, which is the relationship that we have with ourselves, right? So we have to protect that relationship that we have with ourselves. But also we don't want the other person to be confused as well, because that's not helpful. So we set, boundaries and set guidelines, give people guidelines for how it's appropriate or not appropriate to interact with you. It's not always possible to do that, but you can carry the spirit of that, at least. Like, this is not appropriate, or I don't really appreciate that, the way that you spoke to me, or I want to have a conversation with them. I want to clear the air about this situation. But it's really important that we can become our own best friend. Um, and again, that best friend is not just like someone who indulges us and lets us go down into um, wasting our life or addiction or depression, but picks us up as well. And sometimes we need to speak to ourselves with our mind. Hey, I'm here for you. Everything's okay. Relax. Everything's fine. We learn how to talk to ourselves like that. What else, Rishab?
Uh, my next part was, what if someone takes away from you what is yours? For example, stealing would be one way to put it. Yeah.
Well, really, you just gotta, I mean, mostly you've got to forget about it and not worry about it. Um, Sometimes in these situations, uh, it's not even the actual situation. Right, so it appears that someone took from us, or it appears that someone disrespected us, or it appears that, someone didn't treat us in the way we think we deserve to be treated. And then when you look more closely at it, you find out, oh, that's not the case at all. This person is just a fragile human being like I am, and they're trying to do their best, and what I thought wasn't even the case, right? But if someone does take from you, you have to recognize that really you don't own anything. You cannot possess, you cannot keep anything. On the practical side, yeah, these are my things, they're not your things, etc., right? But actually, you can't own or control anything. Maybe for the short term it can seem that way, but for the long term it's not that way. And the the grossest example of that mindset is, I'm sure you have possessions, right? You have things that are precious to you. So if you don't want to lose those, and it's, these are mine, I need to protect them, well, then every place you go, you're going to be carrying all these things on your back, right? Trying to keep people from stealing them, trying to keep them from being lost. And you can't really do that. So that suffering we feel, that hit to our ego that we go through, it's really a kind of bitter medicine. And we've got to chew on it, swallow it, and digest it as much as we can. And we learn from these experiences, right? We learn, oh, I can't leave my things there, or I need to have more clear boundaries with this person. And having clear boundaries with people isn't only about communication, it's about how you carry yourself, it's about what you do, right? It can be a physical boundary. Maybe, now you need to lock your door because someone took something from you. And usually it's best if you calm down and you settle and you digest this medicine before you confront that person, right? Before you go and have a talk with them. Because when we talk with people from a place of anger or from a place of delusion or a place of greed, uh, it sets the tone for the conversation. And actually, what kind of people are those people stealing or breaking precept or suffering? They're suffering people. They're not having a good go around. They're going through difficulties. They feel upset. I'm sure they feel ashamed. So we also can have compassion for them in, their difficulties, their mistakes, and their errors. Get out that poison of to blame, to punish, to harm. No, nobody needs to be punished. Nobody needs to be harmed. People need help. What else, Rishab?
Right. I agree. I agree with you for the most part. Uh, Thank you. That's all. That's all I had to ask.
A lot of difficulties and problems that come up will resolve themselves. And if you can practice mindfulness, and if you can practice doing good deeds, if you can practice to stay with your precept during this period of time when these difficulties arise, then they will dissolve quicker. But just being patient about the situation and patient with your experience with the feeling in the body, because it hurts, right? It hurts when someone takes from us. It hurts when someone doesn't treat us in the way we want to be treated. But we learn and we grow from it. Our heart actually can get bigger because we go through these sufferings and practice mindfulness and do good deeds and stay with our precepts. Go ahead, Nico.
Hello. I've discussed this previously with a couple other members, but I figured it'd be a good time to ask as well, just for extra clarification. But I have a really bad health issue that required my doctor to like require me to eat red meat, even though I really do not wish to. But if I don't, risk uh, I will risk perishing due to life-threatening anemia. Is there anything I can go around this or something else? Because it's quite guilting me.
So, Buddhism is not a vegan institution. It's great to be vegan. I definitely support veganism, and I practice it, um, but not perfectly and not all the time, because different temples and monasteries I stay at, different places in the world, it's not really reasonable to have a robust vegan diet. Um, if you need to eat meat for medical purposes, I mean, one side you can certainly try to see another doctor, if you're really that passionate about it. But also, you can eat with mindfulness, and you can eat with reverence, and you can kind of remember that what you're taking in is from the life of another animal, and you can dedicate your merits, your practice to that being. I mean, there's many different ways to approach it, but that perfect idea, that perfect virtue, that like attachment to being vegan is also a problem. It will also be an issue. Not because it's not right or it's not good or we shouldn't encourage it, but because of that attachment that's there. And attachment really keeps us stuck. It keeps us binded by what's right and what's wrong. And you're not going to have much success debating with impermanence or convincing interbeing, right? Or trying to trick unsatisfactoriness into being satisfactory by, this perfect idea of what we should and shouldn't do, right? So in general, we should definitely try to eat less meat. We shouldn't fetishize eating meat or even animal products. But it's a journey. It's going to take time and experimentation. I'm sure if you look online, you might be able to find some more information about, the diagnosis you've gotten and how you may be able to manage it in other ways. But not getting stuck on any one particular idea, and then just because you can't follow through with one particular idea or notion that you're stuck on, which ideally don't be stuck on any idea, but even if it's a good idea and you can't follow through with it, don't be stuck on that, because that stuckness is going to keep you from continuing your practice of mindfulness, coming back to the present, coming back to all these sources of happiness and peace that are within you. It's going to keep you from doing good deeds. It's going to keep you from, oh, well, I already broke my precepts, so whatever, I guess it's just free time. No, you don't want to do like that. You failed in trying to do something, so that gives you a reason to fail. No, you just digest what you're going through, and then you do your best to take care of it, and then you continue. Because our primary practice on the spiritual path, the real spiritual path, let's say, it's not about idealism. It's not about getting somewhere, and it's not about notions. So don't allow those notions to confuse or cloud your practice. But also don't reject those notions, right? So now someone takes that idea of rejection, and now we're debating vegans because we say they're attached to being vegan. No, that's also not right. So knowing how to use everything and just integrating, right? And over time, if your health improves, then you may be able to be more vegan, or look at some other directions to go in. But it's really essential to realize that the spiritual path, the Buddhist path, is to detach, to abandon, to release, to finish, to resolve, to end, not to get a hold of anything and sink to the bottom of the ocean with it. The ending, the resolution, the finishing of defiled thinking. Just experiencing. A welcome, Kara.
Hi.
Welcome in, Chris and Ken. So maybe let's read some Dhamma. Okay, we have a nice selection here on arousing the aspiration for enlightenment. So, as a Buddhist, this is the unique quality compared to common American religions such as Christianity or Islam, where the Buddhist goal or the focus of a Buddhist practitioner is not about going to heaven. It's not about going to, this idealistic realm for eternity that our soul will go to and we will be there. But rather, it is to wake up. It is to perceive. It is to experience our original nature. So in Buddhism, heaven is like a dream. Hell is like a dream. Success is like a dream. Failure is like a dream. And if we practice in the right way, in the skillful way, then naturally we will have more wholesome states of mind. And that's really the check-in point. Are we having more wholesome states of mind by doing these practices, by being here in this community, by following the teachings of the Buddha, or not? And if you can't notice, if you can't really be aware that you are having more wholesome states of mind, then you should look for another access point for the Dharma or for practice or for the teachings. So these very wholesome states of mind will come about, but not to attach to these wholesome states of mind, not to see them as the end goal, but more like fuel for the practice. When our mind is calm and stable, when we're living in a wholesome and a healthy way, that means we can practice more. We can go deeper into our practice. We can go deeper into our mind. Does anyone have any questions about this? And if you are watching through the TikTok live stream, please join us over on YouTube, and you can see the link to the YouTube channel. It's the same name as the TikTok. Okay. So it is like, so Kara is working from a session, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks ago or something. And it's great. We've been able to have these daily sessions in the group. It's been a while since we've uh, had a stable enough platform on which to um, have sessions together daily at the same general time. So I'm quite happy about that. But there is really, it's like the original Zen koan, where this great Zen master came from India to China. His name is a Bodhidharma. And the first disciple, the first person who trained under Bodhidharma in China was this monk named Huike. So Huike came to this cave where Bodhidharma was staying, because when Bodhidharma first came to China, kind of no one was very interested in listening to him. I think he went to some temple and, he kind of said, "Hey, what's up?" And they were like, "We're not really interested in that. We don't think that's that good." So Bodhidharma went and sat in this cave nearby the temple, nearby what we know as the Shaolin Temple in China, the Kung Fu Temple. And it's said that he sat in this cave staring at a wall for something like 7 years. Just sat staring at the wall, not doing anything else for 7 years, living in this cave. And actually, this kind of thing is very possible. I mean, you imagine how many people are spending 7 years straight just staring at YouTube or their TV, or doing the same thing in their house, right? Eating, sleeping, watching YouTube. So Bodhidharma was a meditation master. He experiencing a lot of pristine and wonderful states of mind. So why wouldn't he just sit and stare at the wall for 7 years? But anyway, so Hui Kei somehow hears about this monk Bodhidharma, and he comes to the cave and kind of yells out, "Hey Bodhidharma, teach me something." And Bodhidharma just ignores him. So instead of Hui Kei kind of running off with his tail between his legs, he stays outside that cave. And it's snowing and snowing, and eventually the snow kind of reaches up to his eyes or something like that. Hui Kei's still standing out there. And he's waiting for Bodhi, he says, "Bodhidharma, I'm serious." So eventually Bodhidharma says, "Okay, what do you want?" And Hui Kei says, "I want you to teach me." And then Bodhidharma says, "Well, you seem all right, but you're not serious enough, so I'm not going to teach you." Well, Hui Kei says, "I don't agree with that," and he cuts off his arm, and he gives his arm to Bodhidharma and says, "Look, I'm a serious candidate here. Give me some training." And so Bodhidharma, takes the arm and says, "Well, that's pretty good." And Hui Kei, so Bodhidharma says to Hui Kei, "All right, what do you want? I'll help you out." And Hui Kei says, "No matter what I do, I can't pacify my mind. I can't put this mind to rest. I can't bring peace to this mind, and help me out. Fix this for me, please." And at that time, Bodhidharma says, "All right, so give me your mind. Show me your mind." And Hui Kei tells him, "When I look for my mind, I cannot find it." And Bodhidharma says, "There, I have pacified your mind." So what if Hui Kei's problem was not his mind, but a hot dog? So what if Hui Kei went to Bodhidharma and said, "Look, my mind's okay, but I have this hot dog, and it makes me suffer so much." And Bodhidharma says, "Okay, well, show me this hot dog." And then Hui Kei looks around and says, I'm looking for it, I can't find it." And Bodhidharma says, "There. So what are you suffering about?" Stop chasing after the mind. You can't find it. You can't get it. You can't grasp it. And even when you do kind of grasp onto things or hold things, they're not satisfactory anyway. And I'm sure there's a lot more to unpack in that great case, that great story. So we have a question from Wangmo Dixie on Facebook, and says, "Hi Bhante, your robe color has changed." And yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 robes, and one is a Thai color robe, which I ordained in Thailand. One is a purple color robe, or Myanmar color robe, because my teacher, my master, is from Myanmar, so I have that color. This robe is a very interesting robe that I received in Thailand, actually. So if people saw this robe, maybe they would say, "Oh, you're a Theravada monk, but what's this robe that you're wearing? That doesn't make sense." But actually, I received this robe at a Thai temple in Thailand that is named after Bodhidharma. So this place called Ram Bodhidharma in Loy, Thailand. Very interesting temple, very high level master there, and a very serious community there. And this is the color of the robe that they wear. So they offered it to me when I was staying there. And the fourth robe I have is a Plum Village robe, actually, which I'm very happy to have. It's really lovely. And I've stayed with the Plum Village community a few times for a few of their winter retreats. And one of the former abbots of one of their main temple in California offered me that robe. So I'm very happy to have that as well. Really, I'm not a sectarian Buddhist. My life as a monk, and my role as a monk for the world is not sectarian in nature. Now there are certain cases, there are certain situations where it would be more appropriate or less appropriate to wear particular robes, but I'm not representing a sect as much as I am representing Buddhism and monasticism, and really modern monasticism from an American perspective and from a non-sectarian perspective. So it's kind of an open experiment and dialogue about what monastic life is, and what it looks like in different communities and different cultures. And because I'm not coming from a Buddhist cultural background, I'm not stuck on, oh, this robe or that robe. I'm very open about it. And what robes represent is communities, really, and to a lesser extent traditions, but really communities. So we can't just go to the robe shop and pick out whatever colors or styles we want and then go around wearing that. But it's a kind of transmission. It doesn't mean you have some special authority, but it means you've stayed in that community, you've had experiences, and for whatever reason someone offered you a robe and invited you to be a part of the community in that way. As a Buddhist, we certainly shouldn't fixate too much on styles or colors or different cultural aspects. We should consider about the mind. That is what is most important. And like with all things, it doesn't mean we reject the various cultural standards or importances, but that we know how to use them without attachment. And I guess because I am the American monk and the Western monk, I have a lot of flexibility in terms of that using without attachment, that some monks that were brought up in Buddhism maybe do not have as much access to. Okay, welcome, Gloria and Gary. So we were speaking about the aspiration for enlightenment, factors for aspiration to become enlightened, to wake up. The scriptures speak of various ways of arousing the aspiration for enlightenment. They speak of arousing the aspiration for enlightenment by thinking of various principles, or by observing various characteristics of Buddha, or by witnessing various spiritual displays, or by hearing various doctrines, or by traveling in various lands, or by observing various groups, or by seeing various practices cultivated, or by seeing various things perish, or by seeing various errors, or by seeing others suffer various pains. These are cited in brief as 10 main ways, but there are more. As for arousing the aspiration by thinking of principle, the nature of things is naturally so. Cause cannot defile it. Suffering cannot torment it. The way cannot reach it. Extinction cannot purify it. So this is really deep and profound, right? As for arousing the aspiration for enlightenment by thinking of the principle, kind of like the fundamental truth of enlightenment, or the nature of things, the fundamental truth about the nature of things. The nature of things is naturally so. The Dhamma is just this. The way is just this. All compounded phenomena are just this. Your life is just this. What else could it be? Where else could it be? The Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha are just this, to be seen immediately, here and now. So, as for arousing the aspiration for enlightenment by thinking of principle, the nature of things is naturally so. Cause cannot defile it. Suffering cannot torment it. The way cannot reach it. Extinction cannot purify it. Just as clouds enveloping the moon cannot hinder or harm it, once afflictions are removed, one sees the nature of things. Scripture says, extinction is not the real truth. By extinction, we meet with reality. Since even extinction is not the real truth, how could the other three truths be the real truth? There is no enlightenment in afflictions. There are no afflictions in enlightenment. This is called arousing the aspiration for enlightenment by thinking of the four truths of birth and death, seeking Buddhahood above, and teaching people below. so that nothing graspable, nothing identifiable, nothing with characteristics is the real truth or the fundamental truth. So even things coming to an end, situations coming to an end, right? Death. Extinction is not the real truth. By extinction, we meet with reality. So in this act, this experience of meeting with reality, where can characteristics be? Where can they be? Meeting with reality, meeting with everything. Where can characteristics stay? Where can they be fixed? It's like taking the earth as an example, separate from the universe. It is inherently ridiculous, and yet the vastness of the universe is even more ridiculous than that. So, the path, or waking up, or starting to consider about the real truth, the fundamental truth, the ground of being, the ground of reality, means that we meet with ridiculousness. We see how ridiculous all of this ascribing characteristics to everything actually is, and how much it traps us unnecessarily, how much it binds us unnecessarily, how much it defines and controls our life unnecessarily. Why is it unnecessary? Because it is ridiculous to imagine that the earth is somewhere that we live, or that the things around us belong to us. How could they? The intellect cannot reach interbeing. It can point to it, but it cannot reach it. Interbeing is unreachable. Impermanence is ungraspable. Dukkha is nibbana. As for arousing the aspiration for enlightenment by thinking of the birthless Four Truths, the nature of things is not different from suffering and its cause. So we're talking about a certain perspective in approaching the Four Noble Truths. There is suffering. There's a cause of suffering. There's an ending of suffering, and there's a path to ending suffering. So this is the birthless perspective of the Four Noble Truths. As for arousing the aspiration by thinking of the birthless Four Truths, the nature of things is not different from suffering and its cause. It is just because of misunderstanding suffering and its cause that one loses sight of the nature of things. It is like water freezing into ice. There is no separate water. When one realizes that in suffering and its cause there is no suffering or cause, then one understands the nature of things. Since even suffering and its cause are it, needless to say, so are the way and extinction. Scripture says, afflictions are enlightenment. Enlightenment is the afflictions. This is called arousing the aspiration for enlightenment by thinking of the birthless Four Truths, seeking above and teaching below. So this is our important work as Buddhist practitioners, as spiritual people on the path, is that we continue to seek above, to find enlightened teachers, to find the wise ones. Just in the same way, if you were a business person, someone who wanted to be very, very successful monetarily and in business, you would keep trying to, become the CEO. Well, how do you do that? By meeting the CEO or by meeting these other people who are further along down the line. So we seek above. We continue to seek these great teachers and masters and wisdoms. And as we're doing that, we support those who are less experienced. We give guidance, we give support, we give direction, we offer help. Not stuck in the duality of above and below, but being very practical about what we want to do. And that this mind is a big responsibility. So how are we going to manage it and care for it and cultivate it and develop it? Well, it's by following those who have cultivated more, who have developed more. And each of us on our own, we will see, oh, I like Adi Ashanti, or I like Sadhguru, or I like Thich Nhat Hanh, or I like Ajahn Brahm. I think all of these are fair directions to go in. And then those people in our lives that are not as blessed, are not as fortunate to have come across the Dhamma, right? Or at least to come across Dana and Sila, and some, limited success even in meditation practice, we help them, we offer to them, we share with them, bring benefit, bring peace, offer resolutions to their afflictions. And how are we able to offer resolutions to everyone's afflictions, to everyone's problems? Well, Scripture says afflictions are enlightenment. Enlightenment is the afflictions. It is just because of misunderstanding suffering and its cause that one loses sight of the nature of things. It is like water freezing into ice. There is no separate water. When one realizes that in suffering and its cause there is no suffering or cause, then one understands the nature of things. As for thinking of the infinite Four Truths, so this is a more profound or a more non-dualistic perspective in which to view the Four Truths, Four Noble Truths. As for thinking of the infinite Four Truths, the nature of things is called the character of reality. It is not the sphere of the two vehicles, much less of ordinary people. Beyond the two extremes, there is a distinct pure truth. Beyond duality, there is a distinct pure truth. This is called arousing the aspiration by thinking of the infinite Four Truths, seeking above and teaching below. As for thinking of the uncreate, the unborn, the nature of things and all things are not two, not different. The nature of things and all things are not two, not different. Even the ordinary state is it. How much more so the two vehicles? So I'm pretty sure here this two vehicles is talking about the Mahayana and the Theravada. But let me check my work here. You've got to be careful about this stuff because the teachings are very clear and very precise in what they are talking about, which is not dualistic and not intellectual, not in the realm of grasping. And yet, because there are so many teachings, there are so many scriptures, there are so many different terms, etc., we can get confused easily when we're reading some text and think that grasping is correct, but it is not. Rather than fixating on understanding things, you can recognize not understanding, and you can practice with not understanding. If you want to understand things, you can do that too. But here it's saying that even the ordinary state is it. How much more so the two vehicles? So if we say that the ordinary mind is the Buddha, the ordinary mind is the way, right? That your everyday ordinary life is it. Well, then, how much more so is the path laid out by the Buddha? How much more so is the Mahayana and the Theravada, the different traditions that exist in Buddhism? Some people kind of cheap out on their spiritual practice because they say, "Oh, everything is nothing." It's my mind is already Buddha. They think like that, and then they don't follow through with these great treasures that are available to us. To seek the character of reality outside of ordinary things is like running from the space in one place to look for space elsewhere. The ordinary is the true. There is no need to abandon the ordinary and strive for the holy. Scripture says, life and death is nirvana. Each form, each scent is all the middle way. This is called arousing the aspiration for enlightenment by thinking of the uncreate Four Truths, seeking above and teaching below. If, thinking one principle through, you are clear about the entire cosmos, comprehending its bounds, arriving at its depths, thoroughly investigating horizontally and vertically, including phenomena and noumena, seeking above and teaching below, that can be called arousing the aspiration for enlightenment. Enlightenment is called the way, and the way can reach the horizontal and vertical other shore. This is called the consummation of the aspiration. Therefore, we have made the distinctions of shallowness and depth in thinking of principle, the phenomena and noumenon all pervasive. This will apply to each method we discuss from here on. This is a very dense book that I'm working through called Stopping and Seeing, translated by Thomas Cleary. Let's go to a poem. So this is a poem from Stonehouse, who is a great ancient Chinese hermit who lived in a mountain monk, hermit monk from many hundreds and hundreds of years ago in China, and he's a poet. I moved west into a maze of peaks, put trees and mist between me and the distant river. Old and untroubled, I like to sleep late. I hate to hear roosters or bells. After porridge, after rice, after drinking tea, I open the window and sit and gaze at mountains, survey every realm throughout Jambu. During the day, no one is more idle than me. We will resume after this short commercial break and a word from our sponsors. Can anyone guess who our sponsors are? Or our main sponsor?
Is it this moment?
This moment is a fair answer. I was going to say the unborn, the uncreate, emptiness, but this moment is a good way to say that too. The MBS is supported by beings like you, emanations of the great unborn and uncreate. Any questions?
I have a strange question.
It's about affirmations. Like if we go through turbulent times, is there a phrase we can repeat to ourselves sometimes? Like unborn, uncreate, detachment. It works for a while, but maybe there is more.
Well, I think that aspirations or affirmations can be quite helpful, but we have to look at where those affirmations are coming from. So if they're coming from a self view, then they're going to be both not very powerful and also sticky or tricky in that they're feeding into fixation or grasping rather than generosity. So, like when we practice metta, metta meditation is a kind of aspiration, but it's very wisdom informed and it's not limited to ourselves. So, we start with loving kindness towards ourselves. May I be happy, may I be at peace, may I be free from suffering, because this body and mind that we're so connected to and so experienced with, this should naturally be the easiest place to send our love, to send our kindness, right? So we develop that sense of friendliness, that sense of love, that sense of care, that sense of joy, of safety, of compassion, friendliness. But that is a starting point for developing this energy of loving friendliness, and then to offer it out to our loved ones, to those that we are neutral about, and to those that we have a lot of difficulties with, and then to the most expansive, to all beings. And from the Mahayana side, kind of the Chinese Buddhist side, they also maybe one of their big practices in terms of affirmations is the recollection or the chanting of the names of the bodhisattvas. So chanting, for example, Namo Guanshu Yimpusa, or Namo Avalovikiteshvara, or Namo Kwanteyam Bhoteta. These are all different names of Avalovikiteshvara, this archetype of compassion, this being of compassion. And to visualize in our mind this being of ultimate compassion, it also could be the Buddha, right, is very helpful. We can disentangle our self-fixation by focusing on a being, a symbol of compassion or of wisdom or of pure practice. And we, I imagine, I think I have this in me that, but, I'm logical, I'm scientific, I don't believe in Guan Yin, I don't believe in the Buddha, in this kind of spiritual way. I'm just a secular, logical, scientific meditator, etc. But actually, what makes you real? What makes your identity real? And how often are you chanting your own name? How often are you feeding this self-referential behavior, right? You're worshiping this self-identity that desires things and fears things. You're propping it up. You're propagating it. You're fueling it, right? And how much good does it do you? Trying to get what you desire and avoid what you don't desire. So when we can build up this image of the Buddha or a bodhisattva like Guan Yin Bodhisattva, it's very helpful. It's very powerful practice. We already believe in ourselves, and to a lot of people in a very negative way, right? We believe in our wrongness and our instability and our suffering and our pollutedness. But from the Buddhist side, what is that self? Right? Who is it? Who is Bhante? Who is Adil? And we don't have to ask that, we don't have to ask who is Adil. Adil can ask who is Adil. Or who is Kara. But that can be a very tangled operation. And to consistently ask that question very deeply, what is the self, is difficult. So when we chant a mantra like Namo Avalovikiteshvara, they do this in the Plum Village tradition, Thich Nhat Hanh's tradition. It is chanting the mantra of great compassion. It is chanting the mantra of the recollection of a part of everything that is so compassionate, so wise, so caring, so loving, so forgiving. And we can bring that spirit into our mind. Now, how workable that is for people who are not coming from a Buddhist background, a cultural background that has those bodhisattva as a part of it, you'll have to see how much you want to experiment with that or practice with that. But I've had a lot of success using that practice, even in intensive meditation retreats. But if you want to do a affirmation practice I recommend metta. Get a good formula for practicing metta meditation, repeating these affirmations, repeating these phrases of loving kindness. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. May I be at peace. May I be free from physical pain. And then we can also extend that outwardly to our loved ones. Metta is very important Buddhist practice. Yeah, and we can experiment. We can experiment with how we practice metta, but you want to have the good foundation with it as well. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. May I be peaceful. May I be free from fear. May I be healthy. May I feel safe, etc. As much as possible, we want the practice to take place in a way that isn't so easy to bind or get picked up by our ego, our selfishness, our grasping, our clinging, our chasing. And don't worry about doing it perfectly, but just keeping that in mind. The simplicity is very important. The directness is very important. And the more that we practice regularly, the more that we can put that energy, that heart, that authenticity into simplicity. Simple affirmations like "May I be happy," rather than things that may have more complication into them, which we tend to naturally gravitate towards those complications. Okay, take care. As much as possible, we should be in a state of awe, AWE. When we are easy to know or easy to put ourselves in this position of understanding, we make a fool of ourselves. And we waste our energy, we waste our time. Be in awe. Be in a state of wonder. Be in a state of not understanding. And whatever outward attention you have, turn it inwards. Use that all as a pathway to go deeply inward and have a direct experience. Not just going through the motions, saying the same things over and over again, putting these projections onto other people and situations and experiences because that's what you're used to. This is not a normal situation. And every situation is like that, so how much more so this live stream or this happening that is concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, the truth, the original nature, the ultimate, birth and death. That is the situation we are in. So be in awe. Don't cheat yourself. Don't waste your curiosity by putting together little thoughts. Stop waiting to be convinced. Stop looking to be convinced. I don't want to convince you of anything. And who does want to convince you of things? People that are selling timeshare properties, or Nigerian princes that have misplaced their bank account and are looking for your help to get it back. I'm not here to convince you of anything. Don't be convinced, but don't be skeptical either. Be in awe, be in wonder. Whether it's here or there, find a way. Find a way place to be in awe, to be in a state of not knowing, to be in a state of not understanding, not grasping, to be in a state of practicing meditation seriously. That's what you should do. And the tyranny of the shoulds isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So we should know how to use the should and the should not. We should not let our arrogance control us. Our arrogance to think we know what to do, that we are in charge, that we are the important one. No, it's not true. You are not someone. So get serious. Concerned with the beating heart, the breathing breath. It's not going to be all the time, so get serious now. As much as you can. And of course, you will be very limited because, this royal you, generally you, have not received much training, don't have much experience. So be in awe, be in wonder, and try your best to know about the truth, not through your thinking, not through your intellect, but direct experience. and not just keep making up these ideas in your mind about this and that and yourself and others. You don't know what you're talking about, just making things up. That's the problem. We keep convincing ourselves. We keep convincing ourselves over and over again, whatever little thing we come up with, and then we chase ourselves around, chase our tail around, barking and chasing our own tail. A spiritual path is a lot like arm wrestling. It's even more like arm wrestling than arm wrestling is, because spiritual path is everything. Don't get stuck. Don't get trapped by arm wrestling or the spiritual path. But if you're serious about it, it means that you put your elbow down on the table and you take a grip. And guess what? In life, some people are stronger. Some people are weaker. Some people have very similar strength on the arm wrestling table. And if you're serious about arm wrestling, you've got to understand differences in strength. And mostly you understand that by gripping up, by getting on the table, by showing up, by practicing meditation, not talking about it, not thinking about it, not watching videos about it, by practice. You can think about arm wrestling for 1,000,000 years and you're not going to be any stronger. The people who are stronger are such way because they've trained. The Buddha was the Buddha because he was so serious about it. He abandoned his home, he abandoned his life to go and scorch under the sun of India, to train with the meditation masters, to sit under the Bodhi tree and discover the middle way. And if we consider the importance of spirituality and this path in our lives, you've got to go out there and check. You've got to know about your level through direct experience. What kind of direct experience? Through cooperation, through generosity, through doing good deeds, through showing up at the meditation retreat, through staying at the Buddhist monastery or temple, through being around monks and nuns, being around the Sangha. Otherwise, you don't know what you're talking about. And why would you? Because you're not showing up, you're not practicing, you're not training. This is not to discourage, but to encourage. So that you may have some success, so that you may be able to develop. And, I'm one of the audience members here in terms of the great sound. My voice wouldn't sound like this if my ears weren't working. We can say we are all in this together, but that's what we say when we are doing good deeds, when we are practicing mindfulness and detachment, when we're being serious about this. When we just show up and say we're all in this together, maybe you should be watching the Teletubbies and saying that to the screen. It's about getting involved, really, getting the heart beating, getting the blood flowing, getting this aspiration, this mind to awaken now. We're not writing a book about it. This isn't a TV show, a movie, a story. This isn't a game. This isn't an internet forum for writing posts. This is reality. And it's up to you to grab the hand of the Buddha and see just how strong you are. Okay? Thank you so much, dear Sangh, for putting up with me this morning. You know, I'm very supported by everyone being here and the support, the inspiration. So I thank everyone. And this, I know we're different time zones and things like that, but 7 p.m. Italy time, which is about 9 hours from now, we'll have a guided group meditation. It'll be quite a bit of silence. And then an hour after we finish, so about 11 hours from now, and I'll put all these, it'll be on the Discord, but we'll be having a Zoom meeting with a Tibetan nun, Aya Yeshi, who's doing a lot of social work in India and supporting women and children in India with her organization. So I hope that everyone will be there as much as they can, and blessings. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.